this April 17th regular session of the Oconee County Board of Education to order. First thing we need to do is we need a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Ransom?
Second.
Mr. Hammack, all in favor? Passes 4-0. Next, we need a motion to approve the minutes from our March 13th regular session, March 21st special session, and April 10th work session. The minutes.
So moved.
Mr. Hammack?
Second.
Mr. Ransom, all in favor? Passes 4-0. Next, we have recognitions. Mr. Caldwell.
Before we get started tonight, I'd like to acknowledge this is Dr. Brooke Whitmire's final board meeting with us. Brooke has served as our Chief Human Resources Officer. Brooke, thank you for all your years of service to this district. We are a better place because of you. Thank you. Good evening, board members and Dr. Branch. We have a full list of presentations tonight, so if you'll step forward and greet our guests. As you're doing that, I'd like to point out that our art display in the front hallway tonight has been provided by the students of Malcolm Bridge Elementary, and their instructor is Lee Rogers. Please stop by and see their artwork on your way out tonight. Our first recognition is presentation of annual service pins. Up first, Cindy Roach of Oconee County High School will be receiving her 30-year pin.
Right here.
Oh, in the middle.
Y'all squeeze in for me just a little bit. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Got it. Thank you. And next, receiving their 25-year pins are Tanya Daniel of North Oconee High School and Wendy Yant of Rocky Branch Elementary. I'd like to note also that Pam Pullman of Oconee County Primary School would be receiving her 25-year pin as well, but she's not able to be with us tonight. Is she here?
Oh,
She's here. I'm good. How are you? Glad you're here.
Congratulations.
Dr. Branch.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for being here.
How you doing?
Okay, Rebecca. Now we'd like to recognize the 4A state champion in boys wrestling, Dom Lasher of North Oconee High. Dom was coached by Walker Daniel.
Right here in the center.
Everybody hold on, please. I think there's some more behind you.
Drop again.
Next, we are pleased to salute the 4A state champion in girls wrestling, the first ever state champion from North Oconee High School, Vera Spencer. Next, we're happy to acknowledge the 4A, 5A state diving medalist from North Oconee High. First place finishers Aiden Sadler and Ivy Buckley, and second place finisher Ren Drudge. And they were coached by Brittany Cole. parents, I see it. Here we go.
Sorry.
Tight.
Red tight.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Next, we're pleased to recognize Ansley Hallback of North Oconee High. Ansley placed second in the 4A, 5A, 500 freestyle and third in the 200 freestyle at the state meet. She was coached by Scott Burrell and Nicole O'Mara.
Ansley in the middle, right?
Right, that's right. Coaches on this side. I got you, I got you. All right, here we go. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Now it's our pleasure to salute Ava Murin and Sasha Phillips from North Oconee High. At the HOSA state event, Ava placed first in nursing, while Sasha claimed second in family medical physician. Ava is unable to be here with us tonight. Sasha is here along with advisor Jan Galloway. Hold tight.
Can I get you? Does she
Get that,
take
yes,
this?
ma'am. Right there.
Can you take that?
Thank
Ava?
you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Nice. Notice that.
Finally, it's our privilege to recognize North Oconee High's Lauren Harris, Charity Wells, and Micah Kilgore on being chosen for the 2022-23 All-State Chorus. Their choir director is Renee Costigal, and they were unable to be here tonight.
Next on our agenda is Points of Pride. And we have Malcolm Bridge Elementary School. And welcome.
Thank you so much for having us tonight. Tonight, we look forward to spotlighting two of our incredible teachers in our special education department, our speech teacher, Jamie Caraway, and one of our small group teachers, Miss Abby Bishop. And both of them have worked together over the past several years to foster collaboration between the students, between different populations of special ed students, as well as between our special education students and our general education students to improve collaboration and communication. So I will turn it over to them.
Good evening. I'm Jamie Caraway, speech language pathologist at Malcolm Bridge Elementary.
And I'm Abby Bishop, Special Education Adaptive Curriculum Teacher from Malcolm Bridge Elementary.
Tonight we are so pleased to share how Malcolm Bridge Elementary Eagles soar as we highlight our school's point of pride, Malcolm's Buddy program.
So what is the Buddy program?
It's collaboration in action.
The Buddy program at Malcolm Bridge Elementary is a collaborative partnership between students with significant medical needs and students students with adaptive needs whose needs are met in the special education classroom setting. They work with students whose needs can be met in the general education setting. My students are complex communicators who use a variety of modalities, individualized communication modalities to communicate. Many are non-ambulatory and have significant sensory impairments in vision and hearing.
Collaboration is often assigned to adults in a school building. However, the heart behind the buddy program is to foster collaboration between students who possess different strengths and weaknesses and who experience school through very different lenses. How can each group of students be teachers and learners? We believe that both groups have things to offer one another. Collaboration goes beyond inclusion because both groups of students are active participants in their learning. Let's hear from one of our buddies about his participation in the program.
Hello, my name is Lottie Payton from Malcolm Bridge Elementary, and I have an obsession of helping in the Savvy class. It's one wonderful class with nice students that are all special needs, and they bring me a lot of joy. They are very sweet, and they like my company. I like their company too.
Including students with special needs is something that Malcolm Bridge Elementary students have always done well. And inclusion has been a part of the school culture at Malcolm Bridge Elementary School for many years. However, there are limitations to this model when it's implemented in isolation. Before starting the buddy program, interactions were limited to unstructured learning times such as lunch and recess, which alone did not afford my students opportunities to experience learning together. Buddies were not getting a chance to learn about my students, their strengths, their personalities, their likes, and their dislikes. And as a result, the buddies often left with more questions than answers.
We really began to recognize that this gap existed during school closures due to COVID. During this time, buddies supported Ms. Abby's class indirectly out of concern for her students' safety, while we as teachers saw models of what buddy relationships could look like through our students and their siblings during virtual learning. Once the building operations began to resemble a more typical school practice, we were surprised by the request from the general education students to be more directly involved. With great intentionality, Ms. Abby capitalized on this interest and formed a collaborative buddy program that continues to grow in popularity and positive outcomes for all students.
4th and 5th grade students have the opportunity to apply to be buddies through an online form managed by our school counselor and me. Through the application, we can learn of students' interests and availability. To formulate this schedule, I collaborate with grade level teachers and teams who value the program as an integral part of our school's culture, and they make space for Malcolm's Buddies to exist within our students' school days. Students may serve before school or at dismissal, during transition times, or during a part of their recess, or even within their activity classes.
Once the schedule is shared, the magic begins. Buddies make their time with our students a priority. We provide the space and guidance, but connections and friendships develop authentically.
Many of Malcolm's buddies develop a strong bond with my students. Let's hear from a couple of students share about a special connection that they formed as a buddy.
Noelle, I just loved talking to her, and I felt like she kind of understood, and then I loved listening to hum along to the music. One of the friends I've made in the studies class is Anna Kate. Very sweet girl. She is always happy, always has a smile on her face. She brings me a lot of joy when I get to be with her. She play with me, and actually over the weekend I'm going to have a play date with her, which is going to be very good.
As you can see, it was very good.
Christmas gifts are exchanged year after year between buddies, we recognize that these friendships are a byproduct of the buddy program.
New friends with similar personalities connect. Here, Claire is helping Jennings to sign into the classroom upon arrival at school.
It's been so amazing to see buddies excited to meet up during activity classes. We are really in awe of how they use the strategies that we've taught them to support their friends during learning. This includes hand-under-hand support, sitting on the students' dominant sides, and tactile exploration of objects being used during a lesson.
Celebration is a part of life, and true friends do life together. Malcolm's buddies have an opportunity to build upon foundations of friendship as they experience life, its seasons, and its many celebrations together. Friendsgiving was one of those celebrations where buddies enjoyed lunch together as they shared all that they are grateful for.
Most recently, Ms. Abby's class, Malcolm's buddies, and other 5th grade students have participated in a book club to study the book Out of My Mind. Through the club, we were able to expand the reach of collaboration well beyond the buddy program.
Malcolm's Buddies is truly a point of pride for Malcolm Bridge Elementary School. Thank you all for allowing us this opportunity to share how our Malcolm Bridge Elementary Eagles soar to new heights through Malcolm's Buddies program.
As you can tell, we're extremely proud of our teachers, we're extremely proud of our students, most importantly, our self-contained students as well as our 4th and 5th grade students and their buy-in into this program. There's a level of authenticity that is extremely proud to see when you walk into these classes, when you walk in our building, you see it across there. So thank you so much for the opportunity to share. Are there any questions or comments?
Thank you for sharing.
Yes,
That's really
wonderful
great.
program, thank you. Next, we have communications to the board. First, we have business services. Welcome, Ms. Harlow.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. Business Services has 7 items of information for tonight's board meeting. The first item of information is the March cash balance report. The second item of information is a list of all vendor payments in March. The third item of information is the budget report for March. Revenues and expenditures continue to track where we would expect at this time of the fiscal year. The fourth item of information is the ELOS collections report. The rolling average is 16% over the previous year, and this month's collections are 20% over the previous period last year. The next item of information is the board report for ELOS 5, and revenues and expenditures have been updated through the end of March. The next item of information is the board report for ELOS 6. Revenues and expenses have been updated through the end of March. And the last item of information is the federal funds report, and this report has been updated as of March 31st. And that concludes my report unless there are any questions.
Any questions? Thank you. Next, we have public communication. Do we have any signs?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Okay, and who do we have first?
Chris Nelson.
And while you're coming up, I'm going to share this for everybody. The board allows 3 minutes for those who sign up at the meeting. You must be a current resident of Oconee County to address the board. Please state your name, address, and topic. The board requests that you refrain from making any disparaging remarks about the school system personnel. Generally, there will be no response to comments or questions posed by citizens at the meeting. All comments and questions will be received and taken under advisement by the board. However, any member of the board shall be free to respond and make public comments if he or she elects to do so. Welcome.
Thanks. I'm Chris Nelson. I have 3 boys in Oconee County Schools currently. First off, I'm going to talk fast because 3 minutes is going to go. Thank you guys. Your leadership has made Oconee County one of the best districts in America and arguably the best one in Georgia. And I would say the last 2-3 years has probably been the hardest time in history to be a school administrator. You guys faced unprecedented challenges with the coronavirus pandemic, and kudos to you guys for handling it correctly. You listened to parents, you constantly communicated, your measured and appropriate response allowed you to deliver great education no matter what. I would say the next threat that faces us right now needs to be addressed with the same qualities. Right now, unfortunately, there's a monster somewhere planning to attack a school. And the only decision that's left in their addled brain is which school are they going to attack. I want to make sure that we understand we've already spent a lot of time and money and effort on this issue so far. I know we've fortified our entry points and our verification systems. We have a new state-of-the-art crisis communication system I've been told has been deployed, and we have a great partnership with Oconee County Sheriff that allows us to have amazing response times. I think we need to take this one step further and focus on prevention. We already have deputies at special events at school. They're directing traffic in the mornings. Just across the street here today, I went to the courthouse. There's a deputy stationed there at all times that's armed. My church now has law enforcement that's there anytime people are gathered, and lots of other schools are taking the same action to make sure we have law enforcement on site whenever children are present. So I would say let's take this next logical step for Oconee County Schools, and we must have armed law enforcement on site anytime children are present. Let's go ahead and give them a parking spot right up front so that any would-be shooter or person with ill intent would know that this is not going to be an easy target for them. If they ignore those warnings, we want to know that there's somebody there that has a response time closer to 0 seconds so that the person would not be able to carry out their sick plans. I know we have the funding, I know we have the resources, I know we have the consensus of the parents in Oconee County. So I urge you guys to take swift action to address this crisis. And it's an existential threat to our children and our education here. Oconee's always been a leader. I don't want us to get left behind on this issue because, frankly, if we get left behind on this issue, none of the other issues are going to matter. So appreciate your time, and as always, I appreciate you guys' consideration and listening to the parents, but it's something I'd like for us to take swift action on. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the next speaker is Jeff Wilkes.
Welcome, Mr. Wills.
Thank you. I'm Jeff Wilkes, Flat Rock Road. I appreciate you allowing me this opportunity to speak to you guys tonight. Several weeks ago, I left you guys with a packet of information about LifeWise Academy and the time-released religious instruction. We are requesting that you allow students to be released during school hours for religious instruction purposes per the 1952 Supreme Court ruling. Because of this ruling, no governing body should prohibit the right of any student to exercise their free rights to religion. Across our nation, there are superintendents, school teachers, parents, students that are enrolled in these programs right now and who will boast about what it's doing in their school. We are asking that you not hinder those of us who want that for our children. We believe Oconee schools will greatly benefit from this, and also believe that the program can help you to achieve your strategic plan that you have laid out for Oconee County schools, supporting the well-being of your students, increasing the mentors available to those students, and providing a positive behavioral framework, just to mention a few of those items. I realize that you feel worried about the other groups, specifically mentioned by 2 of your board, are the satanic groups that come in and the fear that you have. But haven't we already allowed that culture to infiltrate our school systems? I believe so, and it's called secularism. More importantly, it's called atheistic secularism. The Bible says that Satan is the god of this world. He's the powers and ruler of this world that we currently live in. And it's eating away at the hearts and minds of our students. And I say this with respect. I believe we're all, including you, the board, are responsible for that. Students are allowed to come in dressed in any way they want to at many times. They have allowed to disrespect other students, teachers and staff members. We see bullying. We're told to be tolerant of the things that are being taught in our science classes and the books that are found in our library. Yet when it comes to teaching about creation and Christianity, we're told no. Why are we told to be tolerant about everything else but Christianity? Is that not fostering a double standard? Is that not hypocrisy? Joseph of Arimathea lived in fear of the governing authority of his day and age because he was a Christian. Years after year, he suffered with fear. Yet when Jesus died, he asked for Jesus' body to bury him. His faith overcame his fear. And I'm asking you, the board, to let your faith overcome your fear. I respectfully ask that you, the Board of Education, hold a formal discussion and vote on this request. LifeWise Academy, its parents, its students, are all ready to begin. The only hurdle before us is you, the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Cassidy Rogers.
Welcome, Cassidy.
Good evening, my name is Cassidy. I live in Oconee County. Today I want to talk to you about the importance of holistically teaching children. Many parents and educators focus on ensuring that children excel academically and socially, but often neglect their spiritual development. However, spirituality can provide children with the foundation they need to navigate the challenges of life and become well-rounded individuals. Dr. Dan Brand said, spirituality encourages people to have better relationships with themselves, others, and the unknown. It can help people deal with stress by giving a sense of peace, purpose, and forgiveness. It often becomes more important in times of emotional stress or illness, unquote. The concept of release time religious instruction has been upheld multiple times in the U.S. Supreme Court. Release time guidelines guard against government establishment of any one religion and allow expression of the right to the free exercise of religion, which is also protected by the First Amendment. In today's world, where mental health issues are at an all-time high in American youth, as made obvious by the need to discuss SROs this evening, why would you deny children the opportunity to go to class once a week for 1 hour that could potentially help them during the hardest times that they will inevitably come across in their lives? During each hard thing that I have gone through in my life has been my spiritual foundation that has pulled me through and kept me going, not any of my school transfers. I was told that the member of our Board of Education are denying children the opportunity to attend LifeWise Academy class because you are afraid that a Satan class will be opened in the county. So I interviewed 2 of the women that run organizations similar to LifeWise Academy in Gwinnett County, and they told me in over 11 years and 13 different clubs, they have not had a Satan club open. No one has asked them about opening a Satan club, and the only mention she has seen of a Satan club in Georgia is a news article from 2016. The women I interviewed said that 2 different schools in their program, they lost their program because the sponsors quit, and that both of those schools reached out and asked to have the program reinstated because the school's staff and administrators saw the positive difference in the children when they had access to and attended the program. Additionally, LifeWise Academy has 300 schools in various states that attend third class, and only one Satan club they have encountered was already present in that town before LifeWise Academy was there. Based on these numbers, the chance of a Satan club opening in response to allowing students with parental approval to attend a LifeWise Academy class is minimal at best. I'm friends with a woman who used to teach in the school district, and not only did she leave her teaching position in this district recently, she is currently preparing to pull her children out to begin homeschooling them because of what she knows is going on in the schools in this county. It is wonderful that this county boasts some of the top schools in the nation for grades and graduation rates, but that doesn't mean students here are exempt from dealing with peer pressure, bullying, social media, drugs, alcohol, and the other issues that you all know that are going on due to the yearly health surveys. I pulled a student health survey this morning, but for time we only can go through one, but 100 students in one school last year thought about committing suicide, and only 70% of the students surveyed at Norfolk County High said that honesty was strongly important to them. Based on the health surveys of the students in the school district, I'm shocked you would turn down a program like LifeWise Academy that was specifically created for the betterment of students, academic performance, character development, and mental health. I believe you should allow LifeWise Academy. Thank you.
Scott Clark.
Good evening. My name is Scott Clark. I am an Oconee County resident. I live off of Hebron Church Road near Duff Creek Elementary. I rise today in support of LifeWise Academy. I rise in support of LifeWise Academy because of the change that it can have upon schools with regards to discipline matters. You yourselves know very well, recently we've had discipline issues with children showing up to school with guns and threats of violence. These are not the kind of things we want in our school, and LifeWise Academy can help you achieve the goal of lowering those types of incidents at no cost to Oconee County, at no use of Oconee County's resources, simply with your assent to allow us to do what we're already prepared to do. I have a few things listed here that I'd like to reference. Jesus said, "Do not fear him who can destroy the body, but fear him who can destroy the body and the soul in hell." I say him you ought to fear. Solomon said, "Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man." And again he said, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One, understanding." When the disciples tried to keep children away from Jesus, Jesus commanded them, "Permit the little children to come unto me, and forbid them not. For of such is the kingdom of heaven. I say to you, unless you come to me as one of these little children, you shall by no means enter the kingdom of heaven." As Christians, the last thing Jesus told us before he left this earth and returned to his Father was go into all the world and teach the gospel. Again, Jesus said, "If you love me, you will keep my commandments." So that's why I'm here. Jesus said, "Whoever denies me before men, him I'll deny before my Father. But whoever confesses me before men, him will I confess before my Father, and he will not be ashamed." We just celebrated Easter. There's a story in the Easter story that leads up to the crucifixion, the Apostle Peter. The Apostle Peter is there as Jesus is arrested, and he goes to watch the trial of his Lord that he had just said, "I will never deny you. Though everyone else run away from you, Lord, I'm willing to go and die for you." And he stands by the fire, and a little girl says, "Hey, I know you. You're one of the ones that was with Jesus." He says, "No, I wasn't." And then a little later, someone else says, "Hey, aren't you one of Jesus' people?" "No, I'm not that." Finally, another man said, "Of course you're one of his people. You speak like one of the people from his territory." And Peter swears, "I am not the man." And just then a rooster crows, and he remembers what Jesus told him. "Before the rooster crows, you'll deny me 3 times. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, somewhere in Oconee County, a rooster's going to crow. I'm asking you, do not deny him. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next one is, I think it's Edie Tangren.
Yes.
Thank you.
Speak up, it's hard to hear. I don't know if they can turn the volume on.
That might help.
Okay, good evening. My name is
Welcome.
Edie Tangrins. I live here in the city of Watkinsville, and I'm a proud mother of 2 Oconee County students. Principal is right there. A year ago, my husband and I decided to move to Oconee County, and we're not alone on this. Many families have moved from Atlanta. In Atlanta, our school undertook policies that separated students, alienated conservative parents, and made it difficult for our kids to thrive in school. Still, we know that broken values that have overwhelmed the big city that we left have infiltrated schools across our country. I believe that there is nowhere to hide from this, but rather challenge those broken values with the truth. As Americans, we all benefit from certain unalienable rights, among which are the freedom of worship. Today, children are often intimidated from expressing their faith in school. Districts across the country teach children that is necessary because of the doctrine of separation of church and state. This is not a constitutional concept. Indeed, nothing in the Constitution separates a child from their faith during school day. Constitutionally speaking, they are free to worship God, Jesus, Allah, as they are to speak. The Supreme Court has ruled that religious instructions is legal during public school days if done private funds, off-school property, and optional to parents. I speak in favor of Oconee County partnering with LifeWise Academy to broaden their programs to include biblical wisdom through an optional hour week class. Release programs are not new. Districts like Oconee have offered vocational release for decades. That this offering is faith-based should not exclude it. On the contrary, our constitutional freedom of worship makes it granted all the more necessary. In the year that we have lived here, we have seen the reasons for Oconee County tops ranking in Georgia. The school board is to be commended for making this so. There's also a growing challenge. Public education in the U.S. have become hostile to faith and hostile to God. In taking this stance, many schools have seen reasons and virtues slip away. One of many reasons homeschooling is booming across the U.S., including here in Oconee. It is why Christian schools are overflowing their roles, attracting parents who are willing to go into debt to give their kids a daily environment they trust. Why is this board stopping this faith-based program from moving forward? We ask this LifeWise Academy is put on the agenda and let the public decide. Give hope to parents who have lost trust in the unchallenged secularism of public schools and show them that this school district is for those students' faith, not against it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Aubrey Stone.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Aubrey Stone and I live on Crystal Hills Drive. My husband Jason and I live in Oconee County with our 2 children. One is in school at OCS. I would like to thank all of you for your service and dedication to the school system. It does not go unnoticed or underappreciated. I'm here tonight to follow up on an email I sent to all of you on March 28th requesting a meeting to discuss the placement of armed officers at all of our schools. While I've yet to receive a response, I did receive a call from Dr. LaDuff, Sheriff Hale, and Principal Stevens as my email was forwarded to him. And I very much appreciate all of those responses. After having conversations with Sheriff Hale and Dr. LaDuff, I have a much better understanding of all of the safety protocols and measures that are currently in place and how closely the Sheriff's Office works with the schools. That was all very encouraging and wonderful to hear. However, those measures and protocols are in place as reactive measures excuse me, to take when an attack occurs. I was never given a satisfactory reason as to why we do not have officers at the school. I was only told we do not believe this is a good use of our resources. I believe having an armed officer at every public school is a proactive measure we can and should take to protect our children. For precisely that reason, we have officers at our churches, our banks, our retail stores, and our school sporting events. So why not have officers at schools all day? Children are our most vulnerable citizens, and it is our job as adults to protect them. I am not naive enough to think having an officer at the school is the one and only solution to prevent a tragedy from happening, but I do wholeheartedly believe it will make a difference. Further, I've yet to hear or uncover any valid reason as to why this would harm or hinder students and or faculty. In fact, aside from serving as protection, officers are also able to establish relationships with students and staff, which can also open lines of communication between the police and potential troubled students. There are a number of other safety precautions we can also discuss, such as installing bulletproof glass in all floor-length windows and doors, and locking all doors, including the front doors, which is not currently done at all schools, but that could be addressed at a later date. Our main concern today is having an officer physically at the schools. The current response time by the Sheriff's Office to the schools is 3 to 5 minutes, but having an officer already at the school could only reduce that time. My friend Angela Martin and I have reached out to over 500 Oconee County citizens over the past couple of weeks, and through an online survey, evidence that 97% of those surveyed agree we should have armed officers at our public schools. Oconee County is indisputably an extremely safe and family-friendly community. Sadly, however, those factors have very little correlation, if any, to the likelihood of a school shooting occurring on the campus of our schools. As we have seen from some of the most deadly shootings, Covenant Christian School, Robb Elementary, Sandy Hook Elementary, Stoneman Douglas High School, and Columbine High School, to name a few, these tragedies are happening in communities that are very similar to ours, small-town, affluent communities where crime is not a concern. In 1999, I was in high school in Rockdale County when the school shooting at Heritage High School occurred. At that time, Rockdale County was very similar to Oconee County presently. No one ever thought that would happen at one of our schools, but it did. These things can happen anywhere, and we cannot continue to act like we are immune to this in a time like this. I will reach out to all of you individually to again request an in-person meeting to further discuss this topic. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Our next person is Julie Mall.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, my name is Julie Mock and I live in Watkinsville. I've recently been contacted by a few parents and even staff about some concerning issues in Oconee County schools. They're concerned about some anti-Christian behavior from a teacher and cross-gender affirmation in some of our schools. Yes, Christian students being shamed for their understanding of creation, biological boys in girls' PE classes and girls' restrooms, and teachers using preferred gender pronouns rather than academic or biological ones for students. And apparently a female student that identifies as a boy was given a male lead role over biological boys in one of our elementary school plays here, even though several boys did try out. Your policies are perpetuating gender dysphoria in children as young as first grade in our schools. Staff members have confided in me that parents and teachers are upset about what is going on, saying, and I quote from one, "The teachers are stuck. The majority of us working within the schools see the madness for what it is and need admin to support us more." I know that you took ESSER funding to sign our schools up for this madness in the name of mental health care, and that we now ascribe to the far left National and Georgia School Counselor Association's professional standards that preach affirmative care 24/7. But it's inexcusable for our elementary school children who are just learning the very basics to be misguided about sexuality and biology by those who are supposed to teach and guide them. And while I'm a huge advocate for parental rights, our teachers' and other students' rights do not end with the accommodation of gender preference at the request of another parent. It's not just damaging to the gender-identifying student, but it's confusing and unfair to the other students as well. Is that what you want your legacy to be, school board? You know there is zero evidence-based research showing that perpetuating a child's gender dysphoria helps them to become happy, successful adults. In fact, the research shows the opposite. In fact, the research shows that a religious upbringing is directly linked to positive outcomes in young adult years. That's from a Harvard study. Which do you want your legacy to be? I realize that allowing character-based Bible education does not come with any funding attached, but you have an opportunity here to provide a positive experience for the children of the Christian families here in Oconee County to counter the anti-Christian education philosophies, and it is protected by the Supreme Court, has a track record of positive results, and it in fact perfectly complements some objectives in your 2019 through 2024 strategic plan. How can you say no to that? In Matthew 19:14, Jesus said, let the little children come to me, and do not forbid them, for of such is the kingdom of heaven. Please do the right thing and make LifeWise Academy available for our K-5 students. All you have to do is say yes. The rest of it is done. They need it. They are desperate. Help the Christian kids in this county, please.
Next speaker is Lee Martin.
Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm Leah Martin. I'm just going to go right into my story. I'm from Blackville, South Carolina, which is a very small rural farm town, a population of about 3,000. My high school in 1995 had about 450 students. On Thursday, October the 12th in 1995, it was Tacky Day. It was Spirit Week. It was a great week. We were having a great time. Our football team was doing great. One of my classmates that I had grown up with in pre-K, from pre-K all the way to the 11th grade, which is the grade I was in, came into the school. He walked into a classroom, shot a teacher, Mr. Thompson, in the face. He survived. He then walked down the hall. He opened the teacher workroom, shot Miss Sin so close range that they thought she had died of a heart attack until the autopsy showed otherwise. He then tried to get into our administrative offices to go and kill our principal. He was unable to do so and shot himself. That day, our resource officer that we have, thank God, he was in our administrative conference room along with all of the other administrative staff and recognized gunshots right away. He was able to immediately close our fire doors to the two hallways that had the majority of our classrooms, lock down all of our administrative offices, and call the police, and he was right there. Toby was unable to get into those offices because of our resource officers' quick thinking and training. That day, I went through something that was so horrible that I would not ever wish on anybody. I saw my classmate. I saw his brains on the wall. I saw a dead teacher. I attended her funeral. I attended his funeral. As I had grown up with him, I knew him. That was a day I will never wish on anybody, but a day that I will never, ever forget. Our late superintendent, Mr. Richard Huggins, at that time was quoted as saying, "Who could have foreseen that something simple as suspension would lead to these tragic events? Despite all of our efforts, we can't always prevent the ills of society from invading our classrooms." That day, did our resource officer prevent this shooting? No, he didn't. Did he prevent deaths? He didn't, unfortunately.
but did he prevent further injury and death? He absolutely did. I feel that day, had Toby been able to get into the administrative offices, he would have killed way more people. It's unfortunate that just those couple were killed, but I do feel like having a resource officer is very important. Just having seen it myself and thinking that it would never happen, it can happen. And you always think that you're safe and you're immune to it until you're not. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kristen Crumley.
Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Kristen Crumley, and I live in Farmington. Do children need rigorous academics in order to compete in the global marketplace? Of course they do. But in order to be good mothers and fathers, desirable neighbors, and responsible citizens, they must have instilled in them strong character qualities. Qualities such as humility, respect, and integrity. Outside of the home, where can our children turn to find instruction in such qualities? Where do we derive these thoughts and ideas from? It is our Judeo-Christian roots and the Holy Scriptures, which are the ultimate authority on these topics. All Scripture is inspired by God and is profitable for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness. Being able to send my child to the elementary school that we are zoned for would benefit my family greatly, saving me an average of $15,000 annually in tuition costs. That would enable us to live more comfortably, and I could pour more of that money back into the small businesses and farmers in our community. But before I can do that, I need to feel confident that this board is going to put the best interests of our children at the forefront. What does that look like? For me, that means bringing in armed law enforcement officers to be a deterrent for would-be hostile invaders, as well as to act as a first line of defense for protecting students' physical safety. It also looks like affording families the choice for their children to attend off-campus Bible education programs such as LifeWise Academy. LifeWise is Bible-based character education that happens during school hours. It is off-school property, privately funded, and only permitted with parental permission. Our posterity looks to us to lead them in the right direction. Even the youngest of them coming up in today's world have worries about the direction we are headed, and with good reason. Bringing in a Bible-based character education program will come alongside parents who are striving to instill strong moral character traits into our next generation. It will not only give our children hope, but it will assist us in giving them a brighter future grounded in truth. Thank you.
Mark Campbell.
Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Mark Campbell, Oliver Bridge Road. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Oconee County Library Board. I just want to say thank y'all for your continued support. We know that we live in a community with a lot of passionate people. People are passionate about the library, and we're very thankful for the things that you do to support us within this community so we can provide resources and services. I know y'all are very familiar with construction projects for Oconee County Schools. We've begun a new construction project in Watkinsville as well for the new Oconee County Library branch that's there at Wire Park. Thank you for attending the groundbreaking services on Friday. We're excited. We're excited about the continued growth of this community, what services are able to be provided to encourage parents, to encourage students. I have an opportunity where I work that I'm closer to the Bogart Library branch, and where I live I'm closer to the Watkinsville Library branch. So I get to spend a little bit of time in both of those branches. Now, because of my responsibilities, I'm usually there after school hours. So I get to see parents come in that are sometimes very anxious. And sometimes they're much more anxious than the students that they're dragging along behind them, but they have a particular assignment, something that's due on Friday, and they might be there on a Monday or Tuesday, and how are we going to be able to get these things accomplished? And then I am able to witness the wonderful staff at the library, to have a sense of calm, say, I know that teacher, I know that assignment. If you need a book on World War II, I can take you straight there. They don't have to tell them it's 3 racks back. They can physically walk them there in person, show them that selection, because the library staff is a group of people who care. And in your role in leadership, you understand how important it is to have people who care. So I'm here tonight on their behalf to thank you again for your continued support, as we believe that we're part of the education and the development of this community. Again, we are grateful for all the things that you do in your role in leadership. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Kathy Hurley.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm going to go a little differently than some of the speakers who have gone before. And I will say this, I have already addressed most of my comments to the board in an email. But I do want them to be public. Due to my age, I'm fortunate enough that I had the benefit of having morning prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance every day in the classroom. It was a great thing. It absolutely emphasized what it meant to be an American and to be a Christian American. My very best friend was Jewish. I guarantee you she did not have the same viewpoint. When Madalyn Murray O'Hare came through, blew through, and that got ruined, prayer in the schools, it was a terrible thing, but for most people, they already were churchgoers. They were at church on Sunday. They were at church on Wednesdays. Some of them were at church every day. My husband's father and grandfather were both ministers. My butt was in a pew Wednesdays and the choir loft on Sundays. So I didn't have that problem. When we moved here 22 years ago, we elected to put our children in private school because we wanted them to have a complete, full-blown Christian education. Has nothing to do with Oconee schools. We just wanted that complete Christian component. My personal opinion is to have a program such as LifeWise, which I understand has a one time a week, an hour. I don't think that you're going to get from that one program for 1 hour a week what you're looking for or what I've heard people talk about tonight. So I think it would be a starter kit, but is it a complete kit? No. I will tell you my experience with our children at Prince Avenue. They had it all day, every day. I have really great kids, and I'm very, very proud of both of them. But as far as this coming into here, we've got a lot of people who are very vocal about this. I'm not sure that all the people who believe like I do will come to these meetings, express their opinions. I would hope that they do. My opinion is I think that this would be not a good plan. So I would vote no for LifeWise. And my name is Kathy Hurley, and I live in Bogart. Thank you.
Can we not have interference from the crowd without y'all saying something about it? Julie Mock, would you like to say what you just said?
I just did.
Can we hear it again, please? I think the 3 minutes is up, actually.
You're the one talking, dude.
Our next speaker is David Lawrence.
Imagine that.
Welcome.
Hey, Kim, thank you. Hello, board. I do wish y'all would do a little bit better job with ending the time when the time ends. I don't know whose job it is, Ms. Argo, probably yours, but maybe the timekeeper. And I would appreciate it if I could get through this without any comments from others. That would be great. David Lawrence, Bishop, Georgia, High Shoals, taught 15 years in elementary school, taught 14 years in middle school. You guys do a great job, and your recent decision about LifeWise is the correct decision. Let me tell you why. I'm speaking as a retired teacher who loved every minute with those kids I taught. I didn't care what religion they were. They didn't care what religion I was. They would ask me questions, and I would say, that is a great question, ask your parents. That is a faith-based question, ask your parents. What I did see is bullying in Oconee schools. I saw, not teachers so much, but on occasion, teachers kind of insinuating that kids should be in Sunday school every Sunday. I addressed that. Elementary school kids are smart, but they're also intuitive. You separate them for things like gifted programs, and they know. They're like, Dad, why am I not in the smart class? What do you mean, son? Why am I not? They know these things. You allow kids to leave once a week and get religious instruction. They cannot discern the difference between faith and science. We teach the state curriculum. It is a strong one. It is a good one. We made mention of all types of all the religions, or many religions, mostly in the middle school level. The lady before me, Ms. Hurley, she's absolutely right. What kind of instruction are these kids going to get if they leave one? And why would you want to be a proponent of that? Instead, I think, as all of us have seen tonight, we get very passionate about religion. It touches each one of us. And religion brings out the best in people, and it brings out the worst in people. And most elementary school students just cannot tell the difference. They can't come back to a school group and say, okay, you're Jewish and I accept you. That's not what they can do. Instead, they pick at each other. They call names. Are you a Satanist? You're a Jew? I've never met a Jew. Why don't you believe in Santa Claus? It just opens a huge can of worms. I appreciate what you do. I'm a moral person with strong convictions. I can choose where my kid goes to church on Sunday or whether he goes to church on Sunday. And he doesn't have to come back and say, oh, I got picked on again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our last speaker today is Mr. Darrell Huckabee.
Welcome.
I just came to be in the audience of Brooke Whitmire without 93,000 of my closest friends here. I'm Darrell Huckabee from Porterdale, Georgia, and I want to commend you for the job that you do. I'm amazed that you'll put yourself out in the public arena and take the bows and arrows and slings and catcalls and everything else that goes with your job, and yet you still keep a level head, you still keep your head about you, and you have provided us with the best school system in the state of Georgia, and I applaud you and appreciate you so much. I am living bishop, and I've been here 2.5 years. I have spent 40 years as an educator. It didn't work out for me. I had to find a new career. I am a minister of the gospel. I've proclaimed Christ in hundreds of churches and gatherings on 5 continents. I am certainly not here to preach against the word of Christ. I'm not here to preach against education, but I am here to ask you to carefully consider moving forward with anything that has to do with time released for any reason. When I was a classroom teacher, I was very, very, very jealous of my classroom time. And I really, really, really hated distractions. And so I encourage you to please talk with your administrators, as I'm sure you will, and your teachers, and get their input on what a child leaving a class for just an hour a week will do. I've heard it said that, well, they already leave for this and that and the other, and I don't think that's a good excuse to leave for one more thing. I'm not sure about the program that's been mentioned. I haven't researched it greatly, but I do know that I think the primary responsibility for providing Christian education and any kind of religious education or instruction for a child lies with the parents, and I urge every parent here to boldly teach your child about God, give him an opportunity to experience a personal relationship with God. but I ask you and encourage you to please consider very, very carefully what you might introduce, because despite people saying that it's not going to happen, if we do allow life watch in, I'm sorry, I don't really know the name of it that will, then we will be open to anybody else that wants to remove students from school for instruction as well. And I don't mean to offend anyone. I'm a strong Christian and love education. Thank you for all you've done.
Chair Argo, that concludes our public communication.
Thank you to all the speakers. Dr. Branch, I believe next is action items.
Yes, ma'am. We have a few action items tonight. Number one is foundations. And so we'd recommend that the board approve to place the curriculum foundations on the table for public review and comment until the next Board of Education meeting.
So moved.
Mr. Ransom?
Second.
Mr. Hammack, all in favor? Passes 4-0.
Apologies, I could have taken all three of those together. I'll take the next two together if it's accepted to the board. ST Math is also a math curriculum, and Common Lit 360 is a literature curriculum, and we would recommend the same for those two to be placed for public review and comment until the next board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Hammack, Ms. Parrish, all in favor? Passes 4-0.
Take D&E together as well, if it pleases the board. 2 field trips. You heard Dr. LeDuff present those last week. One for Oconee County High School's baseball team to travel to Auburn, Alabama this summer, and one for North Oconee's golf team to travel to Frisco, Texas in July. I would recommend approval as presented.
Motion to approve as presented.
Mr. Ransom?
Second.
Mr. Hammack, all in favor? Passes 4-0.
Final action item is the recommendation to approve CGS waterproofing for the Oconee Middle School Fieldhouse re-roofing project for a proposed cost of $129,700. And this project will be funded with general fund and ELAS dollars. Recommend approval.
So moved.
Mr. Hammack?
Second.
Mr. Ransom, all in favor? Passes 4-0. Next, we do have a need to move into executive session and need a motion to do so.
I'll make a motion that the board will adjourn to executive session to discuss or deliberate upon personnel matters, to review and appeal from a student disciplinary tribunal, hearing officer, or panel as described on the affidavit to be attached to the minutes.
Second.
Mr. Ransom, all in favor? Passes 4-0.
Okay, board members, we'll take a few minutes to clear the room and then resume the executive session.